Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo, and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. It's that time of the week. Stay tuned for May 26, 2024, weekly Fountain Pen Therapy Recap. Well, folks, welcome. We've got another great show for you guys. I try to make this as entertaining as possible every week. Sometimes, you run out of ideas, but I've got to tell you, you viewers are giving me ideas almost on a daily basis with your comments. Please keep going, and I'm going to try to entertain those ideas and kind of try to work them in this weekly recap. So you'll see a few modifications. I've taken away the section YouTube reviews because the YouTube reviews, but when I find that there is a review that deals with one particular subject, pen, ink, or paper that I'm dealing with in the rest of my recap, then I'll mention the YouTube review for you folks to take a look at in the event you want to get into a more deeper look at whatever it is that I'm commenting on. In addition to that, I find that in your comments, I try to respond, and I do respond to everyone, but you can't go on and on and on, so the comments are limited. But some of the subjects you raise in your comments are so interesting. So what I've done is I'm going to add at the end a section that I will call kind of, commentary or feedback from the viewers. And sometimes you have questions, I will answer those questions. Sometimes you will have comments, controversial, and you want my thoughts on it. And I will use that section to provide those commentary or a reply, if you will, but a much more detailed reply. So those are kind of a few changes that I've made. I've also been asked by one of the viewers, it's fun for you to do the 4-pen resurrection every week, where you resurrect 4 pens that you haven't used in a while, and you use them during the week. It would be nice if you can come back later, the week after, and tell us how they performed, and whether during the week you ran into any problems, and whether those pens are going to, are all of a sudden part of your rotation, or are you just going to put them back in its drawer where you had found them. So we're going to try to add that twist as well to the 4-pen resurrection section. So without further ado, here is the news and trends in products, pens, inks, or paper. Okay, so products, what have we got for you that I think is interesting? One very interesting, and I got to get to it right away. I wanted to leave it to the end, but no, I'm going to deal with it right from the start. In terms of Chinese pens, what have we got new on you? Let me tell you, I'm really excited about this pen. Here it is, folks. I've ordered it. It should be on its way. And I wouldn't be surprised that I get it sometime very, very soon. And as soon as I do, I will try to review it and post it for you. It's the Jinao 1935 Tiandao fountain pen with a number 8 nib, sword, with a sword kind of motif. In terms of the nibs, they come in fine or medium. And here it is. Take a look at that. That's that nib with the sword motif. Here it is. Isn't that great, folks? I mean, some of you don't like that red color. I even had one viewer who didn't like the communist star at the top there in one of the other pens. I believe it was an Andean pen that had it in its original form. But look, folks, I love this. I like the guitar clip. It's I think probably it has a large converter, but we'll see when we get it. So I am really looking forward. $22 Canadian, so what, maybe $15 American. I think it's going to be a wonderful pen. So there you have it, folks. Hopefully you've seen this first here. If not, you'll maybe see the pen first on my channel. I'll keep you informed as soon as I get it. What else have I got for you? AdMock M800. You know, this is one of my fun pens, if you will. It's advertised to be kind of a knockoff of the Pelikan M800, and it will never be a Pelikan M800, but it has some interesting features, and they've come up with some very different colors. So AdMock has added. Unfortunately, the prices, I mean, I see here $76, $72, $74, $72. These are all Canadian prices on AliExpress. I still think it's a little high for the pen, and the price varies if you get the Schmidt nib or if you get the Bock nib. But having said that, I figured that some of you might be interested, and if so, there you have it. The new colors for the AdMock M800. What else have I got for you? Well, one thing I wanted to mention in the American Memorial Day celebrations, we in Canada have already celebrated a similar holiday last Monday. And I believe Memorial Day has come up or will be coming up. And forgive me for American viewers, I'm not sure when exactly that holiday is. But having said all of that, several pen retailers have specials going on for Memorial Day. I can point out to Pen Chalet, which has become one of my favorite pen retailers from whom I order regularly. We have Atlas that has some specials, and Italian Pens that have some specials. Be careful. A lot of them say they're giving you a special, and they're really not. I mean, I've seen incidents where the pen, if you compare it to the suggested retail price, and then they give you 10% off, well, that's not really fair because they never sell it at the suggested retail price. So sometimes I've seen the pen on a regular basis, costing less than when it's on sale. So hopefully some of these retailers are a little more, and I won't mention names, but most of the ones we deal with, I think, are straight shooters. But look out for that. Don't, make sure it's a real deal. In other words, and if it's not, if you have any doubts, shop around. There's plenty of retailers selling very similar pens. What else have I got for you? Well, and this is not meant as a criticism, please, Gold Spot, but you can tell when Gold Spot is kind of featuring a pen because Gold Spot floods the YouTube reviewers. Their favorite YouTube reviewers all get a free pen, and then that free pen gets reviewed by 5, 6, 7 reviewers all at the same time because it matches. Of course, you're only allowed to release your YouTube review when the pen is released. And one of those pens is the Navlar. Let me just go to it. It's the Navlar Original Plus Rainbow Ras. And you could see that Doodlebud has reviewed it. Figboot, even Figboot, who doesn't review, less expensive pens very often. You've got my friend Hemingway Jones got one as well. He's got his own views on it. We got Peter Draws, who's always very interesting. He's got kind of that comical approach, but deep down it's some serious comments. And then you got Mike Matheson, who's also one of my favorite YouTube reviewers. So there you have it, the Navlar or the Navlor or the Narwhal Rainbow Ras Original Plus at $92, folks. I don't think it's worth $92 personally. But on the other hand, it looks like it's a vacuum filler. So maybe $92 is what these pens should be going for. I think the Asvine vacuum filler V200 beats this. Even the V126, you've got some very interesting selections in the Chinese pen from Chinese pen makers that I think beat this Price $92, and the quality is just as good, if not better. But you know what? Look, it's an interesting pen. It's got, the metal is got all that kind of different colors. I don't know if it's titanium or not. It's got some sparkles. So there you have it. Goldspot is featuring it, and so are all the reviewers. The next pen that I want to take a look at and suggest to you as a new rival is this TWSBI. Now, good old TWSBI Diamond 580 AL. It's the iceberg blue, and I've noticed that several reviewers or pen retailers are announcing it as a new arrival. So there you have it, just another color for a pen that we've seen already on several occasions. The next pen that I want to mention, so Wet Pen is reviewing a pen that I've already featured on a couple of occasions. In fact, two different models of the same pen, but it's from Vazier, and I'm glad that Matthew from the Wet Pen channel agrees with me that Vazier is just a brand new company from India. It manufactures some very, very interesting pens in my view. This is one of the pens that I've shown to you on numerous occasions. The other one and the principal one that he's reviewing in this review is the Meteor Shower. And this is just another different version of the two pens that I've already reviewed, if you will. And I'd like to show them to you. If you recall, these are the two pens that I had shown you from Meteor Shower from Vazier. Very, very nice offerings. I really recommend them. And I'm glad to see that the Wet Pen, that Matthew also has some very interesting comments about this pen maker and this particular pen. So there you have my news for you in terms of pens. What else have I got for you? Well, I'd like to review some inks. What inks have I got for you? Well, here they are. There's three of them, in fact. I've got the Dieman purple. I realized that I had, ordered and previewed several colors, 4 or 5 of them, and I had forgotten to order purple, so I did order it from Amazon. I love purple, by the way. It's a nice change from blue, green, or even black or brown. And some people don't like purple. I enjoy it. I put it in very often in my rotation as a choice ink. So we'll take a look at this purple from Dieman. The next ink is Ottawa Red Roses. This ink is absolutely fantastic. It smells like red roses. So every time I open up a pen and I smell the red roses, I know I've got red roses from Ottawa in the pen. And then next one is Birds of a Feather from Van Diemen's Laughing Kookaburra Tail. It's kind of a dark brown ink. So those are the 3 inks that I propose for you in my ink review, and we'll do some swatches in just 1 minute. But before we do that, I want to show you what I have for you in terms of paper products. And the paper products that I'm going to feature this week is this Pen Chalet. I purchased it on Pen Chalet, the Phantom of the Opera journal. You remember I referenced it in my last week's recap. I got it from Pen Chalet. We'll take a look at it. We'll open it up and see what it's all about. Oh, we open it up this way. So it comes in this nice box. Come on, guy. Let's get out of there. Okay, here we go. And here it is, folks. Very nice. It's got the Phantom of the Opera, a little trinket here, steel. It's the mask. It's nice leather. One thing I don't like about this thing is that it has a tendency to, I guess in the box, kind of just punch up my leather. So I may very well decide to remove it because it's just, one, it's irritating, and 2, it's damaging the leather. But there you have it. Very good quality. You can open it up. It has two journals. It has a this is a lined version, 7 millimeters, 101 GSM paper, so very, very thick paper. The other one is a grid, 4 millimeter grid paper. Very nice, decent size. The quality of this paper, the verdict's still out. I'm assuming it's going to react positively to ink, given that it's put out by an ink company, Waringal, but we'll see. One thing I don't like about these journals is that they don't have a tendency to stay opened. I think you've got to push it down and kind of, coach it a little bit. So that's most unfortunate, but I think over time it'll probably open up a little bit better. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to replace it by Tomoe River. I've got plenty of Tomoe River grid that I usually use. So that's the notebook that I propose we take a look at. So without any further ado, what I propose next is that we do the fountain pen spotlight. Will feature some pens, will feature this notebook, and those 3 inks. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back. We're going to do some swatching. So the first ink we'll swatch is this Auto Hut Red Roses. Wow. I can smell it. It's just fabulous. Unless you don't like, smell of roses, but who doesn't, right? I would assume. Although one must not assume. As you can tell, I've used this ink all week. And here you have it. And we'll just put in a little more on one side. Here we go. So there you have it. So this is the Auto Hut ink, because they do have very expensive pens as well. And the name is Red Roses. And it's kind of a dark, almost burgundy, rose color. Okay, so that's Auto Hut Red Roses. Okay, and we've inked up some pens with that. They form part of my other spotlight section. So we'll take a look at those in a few seconds. Next is the Andean Purple. So let's see how this ink fares. Very nice. Oh, I think this is going to be a nice shading ink from the looks of it. Okay, let's see. So this is the Hongdian ink, and it's purple. Yeah, it's kind of a dark purple. Almost a lilac, folks. I should have compared it to the Lamy lilac. That would be interesting. Very interesting color. But I've got a feeling it's going to have some interesting shading qualities, which is always nice in an ink. By the way, speaking about shading inks, take a look at Drew from Goulet's. I forget his last name. I think it's Drew Brown. Drew from Goulet. Goulet pens. This week has an absolutely very well done video on shading inks. And he explains why we refer to them as shading inks. He does a lot of swatching, a lot of writing with different inks and his favorite shading inks. really interesting with some very soft background music. An absolutely entertaining video. And if you're interested in inks, and especially shading inks, take a look at that video. Really, really recommended. It just came out this week, so all you have to do is look for a Goulet Pens ink video, and I'm sure you'll find it. So there you have it. So I thought I'd mention that. The next thing is this Van Dieman's ink. Okay. This should be a very dark brown, almost on the blackish side. So, yeah, here we go. Almost like dark coffee. Very nice brown, by the way. No red tones. So it's a true brown, but very dark. So this is Van Dieman's Bird of a Feather collection, and the ink is Laughing. I want to get this right. Kuka Buru Tail. Yeah, very interesting dark brown. Very, very interesting, in fact. So anybody, I love the dark browns because, you know, for me, they're everyday writers, and don't hesitate to use them. There you have the 3 inks. We're going to give it some time to dry, and then we'll stay tuned for my pen haul for the week. Okay, we're back for my pen haul. For the pen haul, I have something, a little bit of a twist. I have one pen, but I have several nibs. And sometimes, you know, we get carried away with the pen and we forget about the nibs. Or sometimes we get carried away about the nibs and we forget about the pen. Obviously, one goes with the other. But I figured, you know, that nibs are part of pens, obviously, and I have at least 3 nibs to speak of that I ordered this week and that I received that I want to share with you, and 1 pen. Let's get to the pen right away. The pen that I want to share with you is, and I think I'm going to do a detailed review of it, it's the Faber-Castell EXO, HEXO. I think this is a really, really nice pen. Now, I mentioned it in one of my recent reviews that I was going to take a look at Faber-Castell pens, which I've ignored for such a long time. I had only one Faber-Castell pen, which was an Essenzio model, and I recall for some reason at the outset I never liked it, put it in my box, and never looked at it again for like almost 10 years. And I resurrected it recently, and to my great surprise, it had just a wonderful nib. And I think one of the reasons why I ignored it was because it was a fine nib, and at the time, at least originally, I wasn't enjoying fine nibs, and now I am. So this EXO is just and I'm not looking at the Faber-Castell, that expensive pens. I'm looking at the ones that are a little more affordable. This one is certainly affordable. I bought it on Amazon, so it will probably be featured in a future review, but there you have it. And what does it look like? Well, let me tell you, that nib is just absolutely fabulous. So this is the Faber-Castell. Is it 2 L's? I keep forgetting. Yes, it is. EXO. And this nib, it's got to be a broad. If it's not, yeah, it's a broad nib. It's a broad number 5 size steel nib, which, spoilers alert, is probably one of the smoothest nibs that I've ever written with, number 5 size nibs in any event. So there you have it. That's the pen. Now, what else have I got for you? Well, now we're going to get into the nibs. And on the nib front, the first nib I want to share with you is this one. The nib is a Jinhao number 8 nib from Saint Pen PPS. I don't know if that's Bobby. I think it was Bobby Pens, or in the past known as that. And this is a medium number 8 size Jinhao, the one that fit into the 9019 and the Jinhao 9019 and the X159, but it's been grounded into a broad stub. So I really enjoyed this nib. So this is the Jinhao number 8 steel nib, and it's an original medium, okay, but it's got a grind which is described by Bobby as a B stub. I can tell you it's very smooth. It's a thin stub, so even thinner. It comes out as thinner than a 1.1, I would say to you, and it's constant. So good job. Good job by Saint Pen PPS, as they are referred to. So that's the first nib that I wanted to share with you. The next nib is another Jinhao nib. I fitted this into my 9013, but it's a number 6 sized, and take a look at that tipping. You see it? Take a look at that tipping. Very interesting, or at least I thought so when I ordered it. But I'll show you how it writes, and you can be your own judge. I find it writes a little too big. So this is the Jinhao, and now I'm using it at its lowest point, so it doesn't give me a thick line, but you can vary the line, which is something very, very interesting. And it's a heartbeat steel number 6 with a special grind. And a special tipping, if you will. And I think this line, I mean, take a look at this line. It's pretty thick, and it's meant to vary, I guess, based on how you write with it. It even has reverse in it. You can use it on the side, but it's a very interesting nib, and it takes getting used to. But it's thick, you know, almost double broad, if not triple broad, but very, very smooth. With just that pencil feedback, if you will. Very nice. So that's the second Bobby nib that I wanted to share with you. What have I got next? Let me just switch the page here. By the way, the paper is Tomo River. The next nib. I've got 2 nibs. I've been very disappointed, generally disappointed with Fountain Pen Revolution pens. The pens that I've ordered from them are kind of cheap, very cheap quality, not very well made, cheap plastics, cheap materials. I was never, or at least in my opinion, with all due respect to Fountain Pen Revolution, look, the pricing is excellent. So for starter pens, you can get some decent pens, and generally a little bit like CanWrite. It's got its pros and cons, but a little bit like CanWrite, their nibs have always intrigued me, especially the flex nibs. And I've finally said to myself, I'm going to order a couple of these flex nibs and see what they give. Well, here they are. These days, when I want to use special nibs, I use this Asvine V200. I noticed the Shack MD uses, Conid pen, for example, that's $1,000. Well, I can't afford that. So I use this pen. I find that the ink flow is really nice, and I've changed up the nibs in this thing, and it's always been very pleasant. And here's the nib. It's that Ultra Flex Fountain Pen Revolution nib with a ebonite feed and with a Bach unit. So this particular V200 is a Bach nib unit, so it fits really nicely. And in fact, I've ordered a couple of these flex nibs, and now that I know how they write, and I'll show you in a second, I think I'm going to order a couple more of these V200 pens, and I'll have a blue ink one, a red ink one, a green ink one, and slap in there these Fountain Pen Revolution, very reasonably priced flex nibs. How does it look? Well, here it is, folks. So this is a Fountain Pen Revolution Ultra Flex nib steel. What I find very nice about this nib is that it's not one of those flex nibs that you can't use as a daily writer. It gives you this very interesting line variation without trying too hard. Now, I'm not a calligrapher, but you can see and my hands shake, so you're not going to be the best one. I'm not the best to show you the flex, but I think you can appreciate how flexy it is, and it keeps up really, really nice. So really, 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 really nice. Very nice. And I've gotten 2 of these nibs. I really recommend them, folks. If you want a very interesting, take a look at that. It's keeping up. Not railroading very often. Okay, here we go. I pressed it too much, I think. But I think it keeps up fairly nice. And if you got any penmanship in you, this thing is great. And they're not expensive at all. I've gotten this chrome colored one. I've got this two-tone color one, and with nib units already there that fit in Bach units. Fantastic. So recommend it. Recommend it. So there you have my pen haul. We've seen, I've shown you the ink hauls. So just bear with me a second here. What have I got next for you? We're going to take the inks, remove that, and do the 4-pen resurrection. let me get the pad out of the way for a second. Let me just, yeah, let's get the 4-pen resurrection out here. Okay, so what have I got for you this week? Well, given that TWSBI was in the news as new arrivals, I figured I'd go back to some of my TWSBI pens. I haven't used this pen since it came out. I think and I forget when it came out, but it's years ago. It's the 580 Dieman 580 ALR, and it's in this purple shade, if you will, that will fit nicely with that Dieman ink. So that's my first pen resurrected. The second one is this Caras Vertex in this brown. It's got some very nice chatoyant brown sparkly resin. So there's my second resurrected pen. I think, again, this is a pen I haven't used in quite a while. I then have this Tatcha Spectrum with a sailor nib in it, because Tatcha in this particular pen does have a different sailor nib. So there it is, Tatcha Spectrum. And I took out my disappointing, well, we'll see, maybe it's no longer disappointing, Visconti Rembrandt in the red color with that nice, beautiful Ponte Vecchio inspired clip. So there you have my 4 pens. And what I propose is we take a look at each one of them and see what gives. Okay, so I'll bring back my notebook. Actually, why don't we use as promised, I'll use the Waringal Phantom of the Opera notebooks that we just swatched. As you can tell, that purple is really nice. The red roses is just fabulous color. Pretty straightforward, but fabulous color. And that brown's got some shading in it and is very dark. In terms of this is very thick paper. We still saw some see-through. Okay, some see-through. The pens were very wet, and the swatches were very thick and juicy. But having said that, they did come through. So let's see how these pens write on this paper. Okay, so the first one is this TWSBI, and the TWSBI that I'm proposing here, the one I have here, sorry for the, is a stub. Okay, so it's a stub. And it's a Dieman 580 ALR. I don't have to refer to it as violet or purple. I'll put it violet here. But I forget. The nib is a TWSBI branded, I think it's a number 5 stub. And I believe they use Yowo nibs. And the ink, as we saw, was the Dieman purple. So there you have it. By the way, the pen, the paper, not bad. We'll see how it reacts on the other side in a second once I'm finished all my ink, writing samples. This is the Caras Vertex. Is it Vertex or Vortex? No, Vertex, I believe. It's got this nicely, their nibs are always very nicely branded. Take a look at that. You got the name. It's got kind of this light and dark striping, if you will. I think these are Bach nibs. It's in the brown sparkled resin. The nib is a Caras branded, probably Bach number 6 steel stub. And the ink is the Van Diemen's ink that we took a look at. And it's the Laughing Kookaburra. So, Laughing K tail. Okay. There you have it. Very nice. Very nice. Forgot about these pens. Next one, Tatcha. Very nice pen. This is probably one of the cheaper pens that Tatcha sells. Nothing spectacular. It's kind of very, very thick and quality resin. And there is that interesting Sailor-made nib. The nibs for them are made by Sailor. And this is a double broad cartridge converter with a nice feed. And it's got that auto hot red roses. So this is the Tatcha Spectrum in the red resin. The ink is the auto hot red roses. And the nib is a Tatcha Sailor made. And I don't know what the size of this thing is, but it looks like a number 6. And it's a double broad. So there you have my Tatcha. Very nice. These pens, by the way, will all go into my weekly rotation for next week, and then we'll report back to see how they've done. Now, here's my disappointing Visconti. Let's see, maybe it will surprise me. Ooh. Visconti Rembrandt. This is in the red. The nib is a Visconti. Now, I guess that's a number 5 size nib. And it's a medium. But let me tell you, no, this can't be a medium. Yeah, it's a medium, but it's writing like a broad, and I'm so happy with it. My God. What's wrong with me? Why did I dislike this pen? I can't for the life of me understand why I haven't been using this pen more often. Oh, I think I know why. Yeah, this has a magnetic closing mechanism, and the magnet is kind of lost power. I think there's a way to resurrect that magnet. I think you need to just hold on with a stronger magnet and it will remagnetize it. Maybe I will try it, which caused the pen to dry up quickly. But you know what? Let's give it a go, because if he keeps writing that way, I absolutely love it. So we'll see what it does during the week, and we'll report back next week, because it's otherwise Visconti. You know, it's a quality pen. So there you have my pens of pen resurrections of the week. All 4 of them are there with their respective writing samples. We will test them all week, and we'll report back next week. And speaking of testing, how did my last week's pens do? Well, let's take a look at what pens did I use last week. Let me just, first of all, let's see the paper. Well, the Visconti kind of bled through here. So despite the fact that this paper is 101 GSM, I'm not crazy about it. Not crazy about it. I like to journal, but I think I'm going to quickly replace it with much better paper than that. Okay, so what do I have? Here's the pen. I haven't used this since Thursday, by the way, so we'll see how they... This is the Laban... What was it? The Mento, I think it was? No, the Laban Tarocco. Oh, still kicking. Brown. With a Laban nib. Very nice. I think it's a broad nib. Probably a Bach nib, but I could be wrong. So this one actually wrote very, very nicely all week. This is my Nimousin Singularity with a really fine stub or italic. And I use this pen to, let me just close up here a little bit. Yeah, I use this pen so if I need to, write a list of things to do, and I want to keep the line in that square, in that square grid. Well, this is one of those fine nibs, so it's a very nice. A little scratchy, but pleasant. So there is my Nimousin. What else? I had the Rosetta Coronado. I remember this pen. Yeah, this is the Rosetta Coronado. It had a steel number 6 Yo 1.5 stub. And folks, to my great surprise, I think I'm growing out of this 1.5 stub. I think I will continue using it for journaling and just to have fun, because of that stub gives you some very nice line variation. But for my daily writing, it's just a little bit too thick. And I remember having had to re-ink this pen during a week because the ink it draws is quite a bit. The next pen I had was this Nettuno. This was my favorite of the lot. I'm not sure there's still any ink in here. We'll see. Yeah, I guess there is. This is my Nettuno 1911 Truffe, I think it is. A limited edition. It has a steel number 6 stub, and I think it's also a 1.5. So very nice. Just writes a little bit thinner than my Rosetta, but great pen. Good work. Nettuno, good work. What else have I got there? I got through 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the 4. So there you have it. They performed all very nicely. So they're going back into my regular rotation. I can't put all these pens in a regular rotation, but they've been resurrected. So they're now going to be attended to. Let's put it this way. Okay. So there you have that. Okay. So what do we got next? Okay, what have we got next is, what I propose is we're going to take a look at some comments that I received, and we'll have some replies. Now, what do I got for you? Okay, the first comment was Paolo, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Paolo Strinibarbosa, 2165, 3 days ago, wrote, "Hi, Vincenzo, do you believe that the Chinese pens already can be compared to German or Japanese pens when we talk about quality?" Paulo from Brazil. Okay, here's my opinion. Look, when we talk about German pens, Japanese pens, we're talking about what? Pilot, Sailor, Pelican, Lamy, Diplomat. I mean, these pens have been around for a long, long, long time. And, the pilots, the sailors, and the Pelicans and the Lamy have a track record. And some of these new Chinese offerings don't have that track record yet. They will, perhaps, one day, and we will either be pleasantly surprised or, unfortunately, very disappointed. Will they last? Will they break on us? Will the quality control issues that are, often bandied about with regard to Chinese pens, are they going to be real? Is it going to, are these Jinaos, Vasvine pens, Ongdians, Moonman or Majon, are they going to survive, a decade, 2 decades, like some of those Pelican, Pilot, Sailor pens have, or Lamys for that matter? I think in that regard, the verdict is still out. But when it comes to price points, I mean, yeah, you can get a Pilot pen at, $1,000, or a Pelican M1000, or even an M800 at $700, $800, $900, $1,000, $1,200. When we're talking about Asvine, and I forgot to add Winsung, because Winsung has come up with some very interesting pens lately. And, we're talking generally about steel nibs versus, absolutely proven quality gold nibs, be it 14 karat or 18 karat. I mean, Lamy has steel as well. So does Diplomat. And some of the older Pelicans did have steel nibs. But generally speaking, when we talk about Sailor, Pilot, and Pilot has steel nibs, in some of their cheaper or more affordable offerings. So in terms of price points, I got to tell you, these Chinese pens are very, very competitive in terms of quality. And I think I've tried to make the case for it when I issued my review, pen, Grail pen alternatives. And a lot of them were Chinese pens. So, can we still, as of today, compare them and put them alongside German and, the best German and Japanese pens? I think it's too early to tell. I think that on a short-term basis, I think we can enjoy these Chinese pens. And I completely disagree with comments that I've received about, they're a bunch of fakes, and why are you even encouraging them and all the rest. Folks, apart from Majon lately, which is, yes, admittedly, that P139, the P136, they're complete, not knockoffs, but, heavily inspired. And you got some of these Jinao, dual-fold inspirations, etc. But you take a look, and, Wingsung as well. But you take a look at the Ongdian selections, and, for the most part, I think they're all original designs. And that's one of the reasons why last year I declared Ongdian, in my view, as the Chinese pen maker of the year. Now, they've disappointed me this year because they've come up with absolutely nothing other than their Year of the Dragon. I am told by some source that we got some Ongdian pens coming. Well, look, Ongdian, wake up. It's the month of June almost, right? We're May 26th, and I haven't seen anything from them. And that's one of the reasons why I'm buying up all the older offerings and reviewing them for you, just because they haven't come up with anything. But those that came up a year or 2 years ago were absolutely original designs. So, you know, and in some of the other pen makers as well, you know, you've got the Jinhaos, you know, is the 9019 really like the Namaki? Well, you know, I mean, a big cigar-shaped pen is a big cigar-shaped pen. At one point, there's so many, you know, cigar shapes that you can have, you know. But, you know, I think there's some original designs there, generally speaking, recently anyway. And so that's my opinion. Paulo, I hope that answers your question. What's up next? Oh, yes. Very interesting comments from, I guess it's Jose or Jose, FBT 6BK. There's two comments he makes. One is as far as, you know, the difference between a hoarder, a collector, or a regular user. And where do I see myself here? You know what? I think I'm all three. There is a certain amount of hoarding in the sense, and I hope this is not, you know, people will write to me, you know, hoarding is a sickness and you need to see a psychiatrist. And look, folks, hoarding in the sense that I don't think I'm ever going to sell my pens. So I'm not one of those that's going to put these pens up for sale. One, I don't have the patience for it. I don't know where to sell them. And, you know, I'm going to keep my pens. And so I will be hoarding because I have 400, 500 of them. And I can't be using all of them. But this 4-pen resurrection that I'm doing for YouTube, it's keeping me away from hoarding because I'm using them. So I'm a regular user. Yes, I'm a regular user. I use them at work. I use them at home. I use them everywhere. I even use my pocket pens on the golf course in my notebooks, you know, where you take little notes about different greens and how you're doing with your putting, if you're 3-putting, 2-putting. And I like to keep little notes. I have my my vanishing points, which are click, and I'm using the vanishing point with my notes. So I'm even using them in recreation. Certainly having a ball with YouTube, and you know, I'm writing in my journals daily. But most importantly, where I'm at work from Monday, you know, from early in the morning to later in the evening. So the majority of my time, I'm using my pens. You've seen this. I take this thing, which has, I believe, 10 or 12 pens, fill them up every week, and bring them to work, and try to use all of my pens. So I'm a pen user, no doubt in my mind. They get rotated, they get refilled, they get washed out. So I'm a regular user. Am I a collector? Yes, I'm a collector. Will I obsess over collecting the same pen in different colors? For example, you know, sailor pens, and you know, get all the colors that come out. I think I've done that maybe for 2 or 3 editions of certain pens, where I've gotten all of them, you know. But so to that extent, no, I'd like to get one. I like to get one pen of each model as opposed to getting them all. But I am a collector. Am I a serious collector with spending thousands and thousands of dollars on Grail pens of all kinds? I'm not there yet. I don't think that my budget, well, I probably have a budget for it, but I don't think I would allocate it to that extent. But having said that, I'm purchasing a lot of pens. Okay. I have no illusions. I'm not trying to mislead you there at all. So I think I'm a little bit of a collector. I'm a little bit of a hoarder, but I am a big regular user. The next comment he makes, Jose or Jose, and I'm assuming it's a male, it could be a female, is about depression, writing, and journaling. You know, and I came out recently and indicated that when I was journaling my daily events and found myself journaling a lot of negative thoughts and negative events and negative, I'm putting more emphasis on the negative than I was on the positive, because the theory being that if I can extract the negative in writing, I get rid of that negativity and replace it with some positivity. It wasn't working for me. I dreaded, writing because it would be rehashing everything that was negative about the day, about the week, or about an event, etc. And I didn't think it was helping me any. So to that extent, that commentator was right. It doesn't work for me. But where do I get my fountain pen therapy? So why is my channel called Fountain Pen Therapy? Well, it's in the use of the pens. It's in the collecting. It's in the hoarding. It's in the the regular use of pens that I get my therapy, I think. And this YouTube channel is just the ultimate for me. Okay? That the fountain pen therapy I get is from experimenting with nibs, with inks, with paper, with journaling, but journaling just random thoughts, not specific, psychiatric or renditions of negativity or positivity or whatever it is. Just write anything that comes to mind. Okay, that's where I'm getting my fountain pen therapy, and that's what's relieving all the stress and all the anxiety and all the the daily grinds and the spring mini depressions that I share with Hemingway Jones, for example. But that's the therapy that I'm talking about, as opposed to the journaling out of I think that's less effective, at least for me. But I know that several people count on it. The daily journaling also got me anxious because I found myself, having this 5-year journal with dates and skipping most of the dates. So I was going through the whole week without any comments, and then just doing the comment on the weekend. And there I just wasted 5 days, and I kind of felt guilty, and that created more anxiety for me. So I said, that's it, no more. When I want to write, I write. When I don't want to write, I don't write. And meantime, I'm having all these other activities that I really, really enjoy. One of the things that I wanted to show you was ShackMD, talk about therapy. And I'm going to end with this, by the way. Do I have any other comments? No. Yeah. This is, he put out a video this week, and this is what I call fountain pen therapy. Let me just get to it. Here it is. This is ShackMD. He's saying that this is and if I read the description of this video, he says, hello friends, as a busy ICJ and pulmonary doctor, I too get times when I feel a bit overwhelmed and anxious. I find comfort in thinking of all my loved ones and how much they care for me. Additionally, I use my long-standing hobby of fountain pens in establishing a relative calm. You can see that I start by drawing straight lines confined to a square, and I change colors repeatedly and try to establish some patterns. I try to get as many lines as possible per square. I do not necessarily write anything in particular. I draw as I please. At the end, I take the flex nib and do some freeform figure 8. I find this super relaxing, especially with some calm music in the background. And let me just put on the music. I don't know if you could hear it. Yeah, take a look at how he does it. And for him, this is fountain pen therapy. This is the anxiety is removed by just coloring in those squares. And then later, he does some free-flowing figure 8s, just writes anything and just doodles. And it relieves him all stress. This is what I think, folks, what I mean by fountain pen therapy. You can't get that with any other instrument, in my view. Well, I shouldn't say that. Painting does something like that. If I was an artist, and I've tried painting, I can show you some of my paintings, and it came out pretty nice. But I've tried it, but I'm just not, artistically inclined. I just don't have that vision or that mastery. But I also enjoyed that, and it's a little bit similar, I would say. But swatching inks, writing on paper, switching nibs. You got Inquiring Minds. That's a fabulous. He resurrects all these vintage pens, and I'm sure he has an absolute ball doing that. And he always says the moment he doesn't enjoy it anymore, he's going to stop doing it. So we all have our ways. We all have ways we relieve our stress, and there's exercise is probably the best one, and the one I would recommend really. And any doctor would recommend, as opposed to sitting at a desk and writing with your fountain pen. But, it's all about balance, right? It's all about balance. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this week's recap. I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. Please write your comments. Give me ideas. We'll try to work them in. This is a lot of fun. And yes, my golf game is getting up to scratch. I'm getting there eventually. I think another couple of weeks, and I'll be at exactly where I left off last year, in a good position, I think. Take care, folks. Have a great week. Subscribe and enjoy your pens.